Hey, son, I saw the F1 movie, so we can review it. I don't think we'll have spoilers, but I mean, everybody knows this, by the book Hollywood big budget movie. So I don't think anybody's going to spoil anything. But, although there was more action in that than, the last 69 laps, I think, of the Austrian Grand Prix. All right, you ready to go, son?
I'm ready to go.
Hello, welcome to Hard Compound, an American take on Formula One. We just finished watching F1 the movie and the Austrian Grand Prix. We'll talk about the Austrian Grand Prix first. Somewhere in Europe, near Germany, I think. Red Bull calls it home. They're planning on racing there until the 2040s at least, so that's nice. It was an interesting first lap, and there was a couple interesting incidents later. But overall, I think it went close to qualifying. All right, son, Patrick, can I get your Austrian Grand Prix analysis and your top 5 for the week?
Yeah, this was, like you mentioned, I think formation lap and lap number 1. Well, formation lap number 1, formation lap number 2, and lap number 1.
Is that because
we're rather
Sainz,
interesting? Yeah,
sort of pulled his Brad Pitt, Sonny Hayes maneuver without meaning
almost. To. We almost got it. Unfortunately, his brakes caught fire. So
right. No, I had to interrupt because I watched F1 Kids. They do such a good job. Now, I know they've got experts on there, but those kids were on it. They were like, "Oh, hey, these brakes they get hot, the fires happen. Carlos is fine. We got guys coming out. Maybe he'll get to race." And I was like, these kids, they know what they're talking about. I didn't mean to interrupt, but
yeah, I like F1 Kids. It's a good way, I think, to get maybe more families to watch the sport together. So, yeah, it's a good point there. But back to the Austrian Grand Prix, first lap craziness kind of led to what I think everyone believed was inevitable, and that is it's a top 2 shootout for the Drivers' Championship, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Max, as good as he is, he just can't compete with that McLaren. It's too much better than literally every other car on the grid.
Yeah. I mean, to Max's credit, in that garbage car, I mean, he had a pretty good start. He's good at starts. And he made up some ground. I don't think it ever was going to be enough. I think he could have made P3, let's say, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think he most likely would have been a top 5 finisher, possibly on the podium. The Ferraris looked pretty decent this weekend, though, so I think that even would have been a tall order for him. But, unfortunately, when you start a little further back, craziness can happen on that first lap, first turn especially. And Kimi Antonelli just seemed to, not be focused enough, maybe a bit of a rookie mistake, didn't slow down in time, locked up the rear axle and torpedoed Max and almost took out Lawson also, which would have been devastating because this was definitely his best showing of the season so far. So yeah, lots of chaos in the first 20 minutes of action. And then after that, kind of not a whole lot until the last maybe 10 laps or so, as the leaders started to, lap people. And we got some craziness with Colapinto and Piastri, right? And some of these other incidents. So it was fun to see kind of the beginning and the end. And then the middle was sort of everybody hold station. And that was it,
Right. And then, I think Yuki was trying to get out of the way. And then without being, Oscar was like, hey, let me by. He was lapping them. I think there was a strategy call with Hamilton in there. But yeah, after lap 1 and then lap 69, basically, was sort of the story of this race.
Right. Yes, it was good overall, I think. And there were some good performances, potentially unexpected performances this weekend. Mentioned Liam Lawson. We got 2 Saubers scoring points. Alonso just keeps finishing in the points. So he's kind of starting to get it on a roll here. And then obviously Ferrari on the podium and P3, P4, taking it to Mercedes now, leapfrogging them by a point, I think, in the standings. So
yeah, with the Ferrari Mercedes battle for second really looks like, this is where drivers matter, because maybe that Mercedes car is faster, more reliable week to week, but it's George and then the rookie Kimi Antonelli, whereas Ferrari's got Leclerc, who's been there almost a decade, it seems like, and Lewis Hamilton. So on the driver's side, they win that. So, yeah. Well, who's your top five? Give me your top five.
Top five, okay. Well, I guess I mentioned most of them already, but I guess I'll say top driver of the day, of the weekend, has to go to Lando Norris. This was a big bounce back after a tough and quite disappointing Canadian GP, scoring no points, losing quite a bit of ground to Oscar in the race for the Drivers' Championship. So he basically came back with a vengeance, was fastest all weekend. Whenever Oscar kind of got close to him, he was able to either close the door or figure out a way to keep him behind. So overall, good driving from Lando, and just a good result for him. He kind of needed that. Otherwise, I think things would have started to look pretty difficult for him moving forward.
Yeah, well, we said last week, after that horrible showing by Lando, it's a long season, and he had to come up, but he just had to, make up about 2 points a race weekend. Now it's, I think, less than 1.5. So, yeah.
Yeah, and even if your teammate comes P2, but you're winning, well, that's 7 points every single race, right? So As long as he wins, he's in the clear. He knows he's got it. So right. Then I mentioned earlier, Liam Lawson was impressive, had really good qualifying performance, held his ground throughout the race, held off Alonso for what seemed like half of the race. Alonso was within like a second behind him, and he was able to keep him behind. So impressive from that perspective.
That was good. Yeah.
Was, the top Red Bull team driver, I guess, top finisher there. So good in that perspective. Then I'm going to go with another rookie, Bortoleto for Sauber. Outqualified his teammate for, I don't know, maybe the first time, but really good qualifying performance from him. Was able to keep his position up in the top 10. I think fought Alonso there hard towards the end of the race, which I think was a lot of fun.
That was.
And got interrupted by blue flags, which was probably frustrating for him, but it was good to see that battle, and good to see his best performance of the season, I think. Then I'm going to go with who he was fighting there at the end, Fernando Alonso. I think that's maybe 3 races in a row scoring points for him. So he's seemed to have figured out his form, coming back on his teammate Lance Stroll. I think they're tied in points now. So he's just kind of getting on a roll here, and it's fun to see him battling for points instead of like 17th and 18th, which is kind of where he was early on in the season. So much better now. And then to round out my top 5, I've got another old guy in Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
Double points finish for Sauber. He started way, way back on the grid and made his way through the field kind of under the radar almost. He wasn't so obvious until, 3/4 through, and you went, hey, why is he up 10 positions?
Right.
So, yeah, just good driving from him, scoring more points for Sauber. And I can't remember exactly what position they're in the constructors, but I think like 6th through 9th place is separated by maybe 10 points.
Yeah, it's Alpine that's in the basement, but yeah.
Right. Yeah,
it's good. And double points, like you said, for Sauber, that was the first time since we ever heard the term COVID. So that's good. So Lando, Liam, Bortoleto, Alonso, and Nico Hulkenberg. I have no dispute with that. I mean, really, to me, the story of this race, McLaren is just, head and shoulders better car with a great driver pairing. That's the drama this year. Who's going to win at McLaren. Who's going to win? It seems like McLaren's got that locked in for the constructors. But is it going to be Oscar? Is it going to be Lando? I mean, I know the team, they won't say it, but they're cheering for Lando. But so we'll see. And then, I mean, the enemy of my enemy, Antonelli takes out Max. So they're happy about that. They get their engine from Mercedes, and Kimi's helping them out. So on driver standings, Oscar 216, Lando 201. So 15 points behind, 13 races to go, at least 2 more sprints. Verstappen 155. Man, I don't think we did not expect this. 11 races in, 155. He's got 45. It's 61 points to make up. Yeah, that's not happening. That car is garbage. I mean, that's the other story. I mean, here it is. It's Austria. It's their race. This was probably their worst showing, especially when you combine Red Bull and Racing Bulls. This was probably their worst showing in years. But certainly for Red Bull, I mean, this was just awful. And George Russell at 146. His teammate Kimi Antonelli way back at 63. And then Charles Leclerc at 5th, 119 points. Hamilton not too far back at 91. I did actually like the fact that Ferrari I don't want to say they screwed Hamilton over, but it worked out better. Their strategy worked out better for Charles, which I was glad, because I've always been like, hey, Charles is the nice guy. He's been there forever. I don't want to lose Hamilton, the diva, showing up, demanding things, and then getting them, So I think we can put any rumors to rest. So, yeah. Good showing by Ferrari, though. I mean, Fred Vasseur not there. I know it's coincidental personal reasons, but I'm like, hey, their best showing. Then team principal not there, who's already kind of under the fire. I don't know about that one. I did like Alonso not conceding to Bortoletto. And they were just having fun. That was just some fun racing to watch. So, but yeah, I mean, you mentioned Liam Lawson. That was his best showing as a driver. And Yuki, we don't even think about him anymore. That second Red Bull seat is where drivers go to disappear. I mean, he has more points than Yuki. Liam Lawson has more points than Yuki. That should not be possible. I don't know. I think Yuki's days are numbered, but oh well. Now let's look at the team standings real quick. I mean, that's the story. McLaren at 417. Number 2, Ferrari leapfrog Mercedes, 210. Mercedes 209. I mean, so they're the team. They're going to battle for a second, but I mean, they're already over 200 points behind. Then Red Bull 162, Williams at 55. But really, as you mentioned, that after 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's fun. We're going to see Haas, Sauber, Racing Bulls, Aston. So those would be fun to watch. Who do you have as the biggest winner or winners of this race, Patrick?
Well, I think there's a few. I would say Lawson and Norris among drivers are kind of the big winners. Norris gaining back quite a few points on Oscar after kind of blowing up in the last race. And I think kind of got the team back on his side. I think they always sort of were, as you mentioned, but he proved why they should be this weekend. So Lando Norris, big winner, I think. And Lawson, similarly, surpasses Yuki in total points on the season. Best Red Bull finisher of the weekend. And kind of proving that maybe he does deserve to stay there, to stay in F1. They've got 4 drivers in Red Bull seats, basically. And obviously Max is going to take one of them. Well, unless Toto gets his way. Right. Max is going to take one of them. So there's 3 open. If he continues to do that, he's probably going to have one of those seats. So good from him. And then other winners, I guess, as far as teams go, you've got Ferrari leapfrogging Mercedes and looking pretty good, pretty comfortable there. And then Sauber popping up into the conversation of those mid-pack teams.
Yeah.
So they were horrendous last year. It took them till, I think, the second to last race to score any points last season. So,
and we talked up Hulkenberg though all season. I mean, he definitely, I put him out as the biggest winner, but definitely a winner for this week. Alonso, I don't know what his qualifying record is against Stroll, but he's won the last 23. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
That's crazy.
It's like Max versus his teammate kind of a thing at this point with Alonso there against Stroll. Biggest loser. I'm going to take the lead on that one. Red Bull. This was their home race. I mean, it wasn't Max's fault. It wasn't even like fighting Antonelli. Remember all those years with Lewis Hamilton, that dominant Mercedes? He just sort of took off, and then he never even sort of knew what was happening. It's like, this is what happens when you're in the middle. You might get hit, but man, that was bad for Red Bull. They just looked terrible. Yuki looked terrible. I mean, maybe not so bad for Max. I mean, Max always seemed like the kind of guy that, unless he's racing or sim racing, he's not happy. He's not enjoying life at all, despite being, a multi-millionaire F1 driver. But I think maybe he can have fun now, because I think this is over. I think he knows it's like, well, I'm not winning that fifth, not this year. So maybe he's not a loser in this one. I think Yuki, though, oof. Williams, I mean, this was the week. I think they announced James Vowles, team principal, signed him to a long-term contract. And yeah, neither, I mean, one driver doesn't start, the other driver doesn't finish. Yeah. And then I think I'm going to go with, he didn't race today. Hasn't raced in a while. The young Mr. Doohan. I mean, remember they signed, what was it? Colapinto was like, oh, no, we're going to give him 5 races. Well, in his 5 races, he may have done a bit better, but nothing really.
He still scored 0 points.
Yeah.
And crashed several times.
Right. You fired this kid, for someone who doesn't do any better. That's no good. But they're letting him stay on. I think they've made, I'm not saying Colapinto's their future, but I think Mr. Doohan needs to find something else to do, because, yeah, they're not bringing him back.
Yeah, I think that was our consensus when they kind of punted him in favor of Colapinto initially. So, yeah, that seems likely. I guess as far as Alpine goes, I think they're, again, a big loser. I mean,
yeah,
they're just an embarrassment on the grid at this point. So, and this week was no different. It's still embarrassing. I mean, Gasly can't even sniff the points. Colapinto is crashing into lead drivers while having blue flags waved at him. I mean, the car is slow. Everything is bad. They're losing ground to all of those other mid-pack teams. It's just an embarrassment.
All right, switching to the soft compound. The movie, F1 the movie. Now, I go to see movies at theaters quite often, but I go in my little university town, a little old theater that will show silent movies and things like that. I almost never go to the Cineplex. Last time I was at a Cineplex was, I think, 3 years ago, and I saw a terrible movie. Basically, I don't know, a guy ran a restaurant in Ireland and they killed everybody. I don't remember what it was called. It was just horrible. But I went to see the F1 the movie. Overall, I liked it. I'm going to get your impressions. But I just want to first start out by saying, I don't recommend going to see this movie, because I don't recommend you go to see a movie, because it was the movie getting experience that was bad. The movie going experience wasn't too bad. I had my popcorn. I had my big pop. I had the comfy chair. I saw it in IMAX theater with pretty good sound. But it was the movie getting experience. I mean, I thought $16.50 American dollars, which is what I paid to see this in IMAX, was reasonable. I mean, that seems like a good, 2.5 hour ride I got for $16.50. Paying $15 for popcorn and pop, Also, I forget, because where I live in a university town, and the Cineplex is on the edge of another town. And I know I'm not supposed to say this, but I don't really like being around those people a lot, And you know what I'm saying? Like, I know I shouldn't say that, but that wasn't the nicest experience. And then I get to my seat for the 7:30 p.m. showing, and I got my big popcorn and big pop, and it's 7:28. Bam! And then there was 25 minutes of trailers, and I'm like, come on, look, I know I'm a captive audience, but 25 minutes of trailers, really? I don't know. So anyway, but overall, I like the movie. Why don't I get your impressions though?
Yeah, I'll just say that I like popcorn, but maybe one of the most American things I can think of is motherfucking butter flavoring. What is that shit? And I don't get it. It's a weird liquid that people put on top of their popcorn, and it freaks me out. So maybe don't do that anymore, people, because that's a little weird.
It should be illegal also because movie theaters make that popcorn with that kind of mixture of it's like coconut oil and then some sort of flavored industrialized compound. And I love it. I know that I love it. But I never get thin butter on my popcorn. Mostly because look, I don't want your garbage because it's not butter. They shouldn't be allowed to say butter. They always say, you want butter on that? Honestly. And shout out to the teenage boy who took my order and I'm not making this up. He 4 times asked me if I want butter. He wasn't paying attention at all. He was just out of it completely. But it's not butter. You shouldn't be allowed to say butter. You should be forced by law to say you want butter flavoring? You want butter topping? I think that's a legitimate issue.
Fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, that aside, I enjoyed the movie. I think it was kind of fun and there were cool aspects to it. I think there was always going to be a lack of any real story. Everything was just manufactured drama, right? I kind of knew that going in. So that was whatever. But I liked how kind of the different camera shots that we got to see. I liked that they included actual race footage, real things that happened. That was pretty cool to see. And it's sort of fun to see all those different drivers, the team principals, and all these people surrounding F1 that are involved in F1 and actually made an appearance or played parts in the movie. I think that was quite enjoyable.
I heard that the movie's going to make $150 million over this long weekend. That was a good amount. That was kind of what they were about hoping to make. Not that I care much how much it made, but I don't know if it will be one of those movies that continues to make a lot because, we started this podcast years ago because we're like, hey, no Americans are watching F1. We want to get them to watch F1. And that mission is no longer really needed. There's plenty of F1 fans in America. And I have to say, I was quite surprised at the number of obvious F1 fans at the theater. Because I heard them afterwards having discussions about the different driver appearances and certain issues. So
yeah, I think there was a lot of good aspects that kind of came, at least for F1 fans. I think they tried to include a lot of those things that we would enjoy, discussions on kind of race strategy and that sort of thing. It was kind of funny to watch some of those things. I will say I thought it was hilarious that the Carrie Condon casting, because she looks exactly like Jerry Horner, which makes me laugh.
Who?
Christian Horner's wife.
Oh, funny.
And so when I first saw her, I was like, why the fuck is Jerry Horner in this?
That's funny.
And I was like, oh no, that's...
Yeah, look, the Hollywood treatment. It's look, there's hot chicks in this movie in the paddock and they're not girlfriends. They're actual engineers and race strategists. So, take that for what it is. Also, let's get down to it. It's the American who has to show up and teach them all how to get the most out of an F1 car, So I'm sure all the Brits especially just are going to hate that, but it was fun to see.
It was fun to see. I will say, I think also the rookie driver character was such a shit character. Didn't like it at all. Because he just was a bit guy. He was oh, I'm so incredible. I'm an F1 and I'm just, look at me and, oh, I hate everybody else. And also I'm shit.
Right.
I'm terrible and I don't know how to do anything and I'm not scoring any points and I'm sitting at the back all the time. I'm like, what is this character? Nobody's coming in and doing this.
Right.
I mean, Isaac Hadger,
Lawson,
race number 1, like balls his eyes out because it's raining and he's on slick tires and hydroplanes and, goes off into a wall. I mean,
see, I thought he was sort of like a black Liam Lawson is kind of how I viewed him, just all talk, but he gets in the car and says, he does have talent, but it's like, hey, you're not going to outrace anybody here.
But he didn't have any talent.
Yeah.
They never showed him doing anything good.
Yeah, this is
true. He was always fucking up. I just true, was like, this sucks. This is stupid. Why is he in the car?
Yeah. Well, though I think it gets to a bigger point, which is the biggest downside of the movie. Well, to me, there's a couple. I mean, I actually enjoy it because, we talk about F1 all the time. We love all the discussion on tires. And I sort of felt a little bit bad for the audience. I'm like, oh my God, they're still talking about tires. And these people are probably like, what the hell are they obsessed about tires for? And there were some good race strategy discussions and aerodynamic discussions. I thought that was cool. But I think the big downside is there was no stakes. No one's going to die. Technically somebody in a race could crash and die. But it's like, handsome Brad Pitt's going to come and race in F1. This young guy, his teammate, he's racing in F1. And if the absolute worst happens, he'll be racing in Indy. So there were like no stakes. No one has to blow up a Death Star here. It's just like, hey, are we going to win a race or are we not going to win a race? It was a fun movie, but the stakes were low.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird plot, I think.
Yeah. It was there's some good and bad about how realistic they tried to make it, because that was fun. And all the cameos, we saw Lewis, we saw George Russell and Alonso. As you said, they had real race footage. They had real pre-race footage. They really went for accuracy. The problem is they're sort of suggesting that these two guys are an 11th team and they're on this current grid, let's say. And look, the real drivers are spending their life driving. So we never got any scenes of driver camaraderie, of drivers hanging out, of drivers talking about anything, because they were the real drivers who had a job, which is driving F1. So it's only two fictional drivers, the Apex team. And so I think we missed out on that. What do the drivers do after the race, before the race? When they hang out, we see on Drive to Survive, it's, they're playing pickleball, whatever that weird European sort of pseudo tennis thing is. And, or just go to a restaurant. And so we never got any driver camaraderie, which I thought was missing.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess as F1 fans, it would have been kind of fun to see that and get a peek into those drivers and whatnot. I think a lot of people that maybe are not as familiar with F1 may not even know that those are real drivers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So who's to say? I don't know. Or know that that's real race footage or whatever, right? There was kind of that interview where Fred Vasseur and Zach Brown were involved in it, right? And we know that they're actually leading real F1 teams.
That's
and
true.
I don't think anybody else would maybe necessarily know or notice that.
Like I was saying, at least for this first weekend, there were in America, knowledgeable F1 fans were there. So some of those cameos, I don't think this is much of a spoiler. There's a Gunther cameo and people cheered, because they like to see Gunther, I also thought it was cool. They mentioned they had, the real broadcasters using real footage and mentioning real drivers. And we sort of talked about back when Magnussen was driving, he's just going to take revenge out on everybody. And, and I sort of thought the Brad Pitt character, Sonny Hayes, had his biggest sort of battle was kind of with K-Mags. It's fictionalized, but this is what we need. We need to have a remake this movie in 20 years where it's actually Kevin Magnussen and he does come back and he does willing to wipe out the entire field for the sake of his team.
That would be funny. Yeah. I guess the other gripe maybe that I had with it is there were way too many crashes and things like that. They mentioned one time where it was do you have any parts left available or whatever? It's remember when Williams literally didn't have an extra chassis in Brazil or wherever it was? So they could only send out one driver? so Logan Sargent had to sit the hell down.
Right.
Like, this team is struggling. They're going to be sold. The owner is basically broke. And these dudes keep fucking crashing and breaking stuff. And
Right.
nothing comes of it. They're like, yeah, that's fine.
Right.
That's fine. That's cool. Don't worry about it. As long as we win one race by the end of the season, everything will be peachy. Like, no, no, it won't. You've just lost $200 million.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. Like, I liked how they used a lot of sort of real stories, people, and events, but the Hollywood treatment, it usually works, but sometimes it's heavy-handed. Like that character, the team owner, let's say, he's sort of the head of the team. He's supposed to be like the old F1 hustlers. And I love those guys like Eddie Jordan. These guys, it was how the hell did they put together a team? How the hell are they keeping that team together? But this guy was too good looking, too suave, too in charge of everything. So it was kind of, it didn't quite have the impact that I think it could have. So also, shout out to Brad Pitt. Dude he's not an F1 driver, but he's a good looking Hollywood star and he's been around for like 30 years. And they put him in, like, who's dressing him? Because everything he wore, it was like, damn, that's good. It's like, oh, I just woke up, or oh, I'm heading to the grid, or oh, I'm going out for the evening. And everything he wore, it was like that whole, oh, I just threw this on kind of appeal, kind of vibe. I was like, I never noticed that stuff. I was like, dang, he's looking good.
Yeah,
anyway.
I guess.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? I recommend the movie. It's a good action movie. Like I said, the stakes are kind of low. It's not like, oh, no. If Brad Pitt doesn't win a race, we lose the family farm kind of thing. The stakes are low. It's like, are they going to win and they're not going to win? Oh, the lap. That was really cool. Brad Pitt, he gets in the zone kind of a thing. One of the last laps and one of the last races. I thought that looked really cool. I thought they did a really good job with that, of just sort of like, his heart pounding. It's just him. He's in the car. He's going 200 miles an hour, just hitting every corner perfect.
Yeah, I thought it was fun, especially if you're an F1 fan. I think it's fun. It's enjoyable to go see. I think a lot of the kind of action sequences or racing footage was fun, was cool, well done. There were a few things that were a little kind of goofy or gimmicky, like their, pincer attack on Lewis Hamilton or whatever. That was like a little weird. But overall, it was fun to see. And yeah, a lot of cool footage that I think it seems unlikely that other sports could have a movie like this made, right? Where you literally pretty much add a team onto the grid and follow them around. And turns out that's, it's not real, but it looks that way. It's pretty cool.
I thought of that, but that's true. It was very cool. It sort of meant we couldn't have certain things. Like I said, I would like to see a movie where we're kind of getting a sense of driver camaraderie, not just teammates, but all the drivers, or 5 of them hanging out, or 4 of them going out for dinner. We didn't really get that. One of the cool things about F1 is it's at different tracks. It's at different locales. And they might say, oh, here we're at Silverstone, here we're in Qatar, here we're in Singapore, for example. But you didn't get a sense of them traveling ever, or how that impacts them, that lifestyle, how cool some of these places are. You didn't really get any of that. So also, you do kind of get like an insight, since we know F1, so we can sort of judge this movie on other criteria, whether it's good or bad, right or wrong. Like, for example, just how good Hollywood is at marketing. That Apex car with the sponsors on it, like, I heard they got millions of dollars in actual sponsor money. Like, that was a good livery, and it had like real sponsors. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was cool. It kind of reminded me of the old Lotus, like black and gold livery.
That's right. I hadn't thought of that. It did. That's exactly what it looked like. That, and it was a cool livery. Also, you get kind of insights into like what hits the cutting room floor, what gets edited out. Like, they have this pretty blonde girl, and she's part of the pit crew. And in the start, they kind of, I don't think I'm really giving anything away, but they kind of make her sort of, she's pining for the driver. She's got a serious crush on him. and she kind of screws up, and he gets mad at her. And then that story sort of just disappeared. You're like, well, what happened here? Like, I kind of think there was supposed to have been a love story there. Then they were like, no, this isn't working. Cut it, And they cut it, and it didn't matter. Like, I totally can see why, like, some writer might be pissed. Like, I mean, you cut my scene. It's like, hey, your scene, but not relevant.
Yeah, I mean, some of those aspects I thought were a little weird. It's very like Hollywood. Like, oh, we have to have an emotional entanglement between, these people or whatever. I'm like, no, you fucking don't. He could just race and be fucking cool. Like, that's cool. I don't know why we need, like, I'm happy to have Carrie Condon in the movie. That's cool with me too. Yeah. But like, they don't need to get together. It doesn't matter.
But we all knew they would. Like that's like these movies. They both work and don't work because it's like, well, we all know they're getting together. There's no doubt, and we want to see it, but we're all kind of like, ugh, we know what's going to happen already, But yeah, so there's sort of the young blonde woman on the pit crew messes up, and he gets mad at her, and they were sort of like, we're doing this story with Brad. We don't need this down here. So yeah. Anyway. Across the line, that's our segment where we predict the top 5 for the next race. The next race is Silverstone. In a week, last year, it was, I don't remember. Oh, I wrote it down. Lewis, Max, and Lando. And I mean, Lewis has owned Silverstone for like a decade.
I don't know how he does it, but dude wins at Silverstone.
and he had a good week this week. He's getting ready. He is getting ready. So anyway, in Across the Line, we choose our top 5 for the next race. If we are right, we get a point for each driver we're right. If we get them in the exact right position, so if I were to choose Lewis at number 1, he gets number 1, we get 3 points. So Patrick, what are the current standings of Across the Line?
Okay, so coming into this weekend, the Austrian Grand Prix, scores were 37 for you to 33 for me. Top 5 this weekend was Lando, Oscar, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell. Your top 5 predictions were Russell, Leclerc, Hamilton, Alonso, Albon.
Oof.
So you got a point each for Russell, Leclerc, and Hamilton for 3 more. All in the top 5, but not where you selected them. Whereas I had Piastri, Verstappen, Antonelli, Norris, Sainz. So I got a point each for Piastri and Norris, both in the top 5, but neither in the position that I selected them in. And the other 3 that I chose, none of them finished the first lap. Verstappen, Antonelli, Sainz. I'm like, what the hell is this about?
Yeah.
Anyways, that brings you to 40 to my 35.
Okay.
So,
and did Liam finish 6th? What did Liam Lawson finish?
I think he was 6th. Right?
We could have picked Liam Lawson in 5 and almost been right.
Yeah.
How about that? All right. So for Silverstone, who goes first?
I go first this week. So, I mean, as we said, I'm taking Lewis Hamilton.
That's the easy bet there. Lewis Hamilton at Silverstone.
He's got Silverstone game. Like it's in his DNA to win at Silverstone, I think. So.
It's in the track's DNA for him to win because it always seems like something happens to help him win.
He literally has a straight named after him, right? I mean, they renamed it.
Yeah, funny.
Hamilton Straight.
All right, so for me, I said it was Lewis, Max, Lando podium last year. I don't think Max is going to podium this year, so I'm going to go with Lando. And then I'm going all old men. So you already picked Lewis, so I can't go with him. So number 2 is going to be Alonso.
Wow. All right. Now I'm going to take Oscar. That McLaren's hard to bet against. And then I'll go with, I also don't want to bet against Max, but I think I'm going to take Russell. He's been consistent and is generally quite good at Silverstone, I think. So,
all right. I'm going to go with Charles and then the old man, Hulkenberg.
Ooh, getting that Sauber up into the top 5. That'll be a task.
Yep.
Let's see. P4, I'll go with Max. And then to round out my top 5, we'll say Lawson, jumps up one more spot. P5.
Nice. I'll take Kimi.
Nice. Bounce back.
So you have Lewis, Oscar, George, Max, Liam. I have Lando, Fernando, Charles Leclerc, Nico Hulkenberg, and Kimi Antonelli. Any crazy predictions, Patrick?
Well, I do have a crazy prediction born out of F1 the movie. I think Alpine is so terrible. Gasly's just going to say, nope, I'm good. I'm done. He's going to leave, go somewhere else.
Wow.
And Alpine is going to scramble and they're going to pull an Apex GP. They're going to go, hey, Juan Pablo Montoya, I know you haven't raced in F1 in 2 decades, but why don't you come back and race for Alpine? And he's somehow, ultimately, going to get one Alpine onto the top step of the podium by the end of the season.
Amazing.
Juan Pablo Montoya.
That would be great to see. My crazy one is, despite all the rumors, George re-signs with Mercedes. Long-term deal. Total rewards loyalty. George has been with him for years. He's doing fine. He may not be championship material, but he's a good driver. Total will re-sign him. But Max will leave Red Bull. He will take a lot of money to go race for Aston. It'll be him and Alonso. Stroll will leave.
Dang. Nice.
All right. I want to thank you all for listening to everybody's most beloved Father and Son F1 podcast. It is much appreciated. We hope you subscribe and tell a friend. And for now, we are lights out.
See ya. Thanks for listening.
You just finished listening to Hard Compound, recorded in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and around the world.